שירביצני על מי מנוחות ינעלני נפשי ישובב ינחני ומגלי צדק למען שמו גם כי אלך בגיא צלמוות לא אירא רע כי אתה עמדי שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צוררי נשענת ושמן ראשי כוסי רוויה אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים אדוני ראוי לא אחסר. A Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters. God restores my soul, guides me in straight paths, for that is God's name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We come together this morning to accompany Karen Landau to her final resting place, taken from us all too soon, leaving behind beloved children, beloved sister, beloved friends, and family members who gather to mourn today. And though she was taken from us all too soon, we know that sometimes there are many pressures involved in living. Sometimes there are even greater pressures involved in dying. The responsibility of caregiving is all-consuming and exhausting. For the caregiver to crave relief is a longing as ancient as the book of Psalms itself. And so we read in Psalm 61, Miktzeh ha'aretz elecha ekra, ba'atof libi, b'tzor yarum mimeni tinacheni. From the end of the earth I call to you when my heart is faint. You lead me to a rock that is high above me. Ve'omar mi ten li ever keyona, a'ufa ve'eshkona. I said, oh, that I had the wings of a dove. I would fly away and find rest. I would flee far off. I would lodge in the wilderness. I would soon find a refuge from the sweeping wind, from the tempest. The sweeping wind has blown its last. The tempest is no more. Now is a time for refuge, for solace, for lodging in the wilderness. For those of us blessed with having witnessed the care that one human can show another, we know that wilderness does not last forever. Pain and sorrow may challenge our faith, but the courage to persevere in the face of adversity is a miracle. As long as there is compassion in the human heart and the will to act on a virtue, both human and divine, there is reason to believe. We'll read this Shabbat in the book of Isaiah, chapter 51. Shimu elai rodfei tzedek, mivakshei Hashem, habitu el tzor chutz betam, ve'al makevet bor nukartem. Listen to me, you who pursue justice, you who seek the Lord. Look to the rock you were hewn from, to the quarry you were dug from. Just a week and a half ago, our people marked Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the Hebrew month of Av, upon which many a calamity befell the Jewish people. Most notably, the destruction of the first and second temples in Jerusalem, our national center, and the building that stood in representation of our relationship with the divine. Each year, in the weeks between Tisha B'Av and Rosh Hashanah, we read words of consolation from the prophets as we try to imagine once again walking with firm steps after experiencing such a deep loss. It is in this week's reading that we find these words from the prophet Isaiah. Shimu elai rodfei tzedek, mivakshei Hashem. Hibitu el tzor chutz betam ve'el makevet bor nukartam. Listen to me, you who pursue justice, you who seek the Lord. Look to the rock you were hewn from, to the quarry you were dug from. As I sat reflecting upon the life of Karen Landau, Carmiela Bat Bracha, this verse jumped off the page. Not only does it describe Karen, a rodefet tzedek, a pursuer of all that is good and right, but offers words of comfort for all those who mourn her. Look at the rock you were hewn from, to the quarry you were dug from. We offer our blessing of consolation especially to Karen's daughter Kelly and granddaughter Adley, to her son Chad, to her sister Kathy. Among the many family and friends gathered who seek consolation, we also offer our gratitude for the friendship of Lisa Davis, the role she has played and will continue to play in the life of this family. Kelly and Chad, let's look at the rock you were hewn from, the quarry you were dug from. Karen was born on August 30th, 1955, passing just shy of her 64th birthday. She was the second-born daughter of Barbara and Paul Kittner, arriving on the scene just 15 months after her big sister Kathy. The girls had a happy childhood. Karen enjoyed piano lessons, visits to Cedar Point, Fairyland Forest, and Niagara Falls. Her parents threw the best backyard birthday parties. And even as a preteen, Karen invited the younger neighborhood kids to the backyard and ran somewhat of a daycare as a summer job, something we probably couldn't imagine happening today. Sure, Karen was smart. She was a good student, but her legacy is even more important than that. Over and over again, her sister and children described her as social, as kind, lacking even one mean bone in her body. She had a certain presence that was loving and compassionate. For sure, she had her quirks, but they were harmless. As young girls, Karen and Kathy were competitive, but in the most playful of ways. They would see who could finish their meals the slowest, shielding their plates from one another. She loved shopping, was particularly fond, had a particular affinity for home goods. And perhaps it was because of that, Karen was always put together, special attention to her hair, to her makeup, and to her shoes. This attention to detail shouldn't surprise us. Karen always took her time. You could leave her in a dressing room trying to decide between two bathing suits and come back in good time and find her just as you'd left her. She was on her own timeline to the very end. Some might look at this as a negative trait, but it seems to me that Karen was taking it all in. She needed to see all the angles, to understand all of the possible outcomes and perspectives. This, of course, a core characteristic of any good peacemaker. Karen loved writing. She wrote notes, letters, organized plans, wrote down more plans, organized plans, wrote down more plans, and was an avid, voracious, intense doodler. Her laugh was infectious. Her hyena laugh. Karen would start laughing, and then you would start laughing at Karen. But then somehow you would join in her laughing, and then she would start crying. The whole ordeal could last upwards of 15 minutes. It was one of the many ways in which she pulled you in. You became a part of her joy, even if you hadn't intended to do so from the outset. In 1979 and 1985, Kelly and Chad joined the gang. Their mother provided them an abundance of great memories. She was the glue that held the family together. She sacrificed everything she could for her beloved children. Karen and Kelly may have argued a few times, as mothers and daughters do. But Karen, as a mother and as a friend, was always forgiving. She encouraged reconciliation and was always willing to talk things through. This forged a deep and unbreakable bond between them. Karen and Chad also had a special and unique connection. Karen didn't value success or money, but made sure Chad knew what was most important: to be happy, to listen, to have compassion, maybe once in a while to be a little bit more punctual. For the past 2+ years, Karen had an additional, important, central, meaningful light in her life: her granddaughter, Adley Rose. Adley and Kelly would spend every weekend visiting Karen. At 2 years old, anyone who's ever met Adley or seen her on the karate mat, this should not be surprising. But at 2 years old, little Adley somehow mustered the strength to push her grandmother's wheelchair. I had the honor of officiating at Adley's naming and Simchat Bat, held at Montefiore to accommodate Karen. She beamed with pride that day. Adley filled up so much of the void left by her illness. Kelly and Adley would visit to lift her up. But then before they left, Kelly would make sure to put Chad or Kathy on the phone when it was time for them to leave, so that Karen could maintain the high, the joy, the escape that her loved ones gave her. In 2012, Karen was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. She suffered a fall in 2015 that left her a prisoner in her own body. Karen left this world all too early. Though her time in this world was cut short, her legacy is anything but that. Each time we choose kindness, each time we pursue peace, Each time we meaningfully and lovingly build connection, each time we laugh, we honor her memory and build a path for her soul to ascend to the world to come. In our effort to do so, Karen Landau, Carmiela Bat Bracha, will experience eternal life. Shimu elai rodfei tzedek, mevakshei Hashem, habitu el tzor chutz betam ve'el makevet bor nukartem. Listen to me, you who pursue justice, you who seek the Lord. Look at the rock you were hewn from, to the quarry you were dug from. We who seek to live Karen's legacy, we who are committed to the same values she committed herself to in her 63 years in this world, may we recognize that we carry a piece of her everywhere we go, in everything we do. May we live our lives in such a way that her memory may always bring us blessings. And we say, Amen. Call upon Chad, Karen's son, to offer a few words.
Thank you for allowing me a short moment to speak about my mother and what it means to my family. My mother was a true soldier. Excuse me. I messed that up. Let's start over. Thank you for allowing me a short moment to speak about my mother and what it means to my family. For a long period of time, I've struggled to understand and accept this situation. Losing your mother is a deeply painful experience. It comes with a hurricane of emotions, processing, and reflection. This is not how I pictured things playing out. It's incredible how fast time flies, and how much control you truly do not have on some of the most important pieces in life. My mom was sick for 7 years. 4 years since her fall in Arizona on May 22nd, 2015. Almost 7 months transitioning to hospice, and 23 days in hospice without food. My mother was a true soldier, and clearly had a lot of life left in her, had it not been for her illness. As most of you know, this was a heartbreaking experience. I don't know how you can summarize or speak about an entire life in a 3 to 5 minute eulogy. However, there are a few words that I felt appropriate for me to say, which is why I prefer to keep it short. My mother was the glue to our family. I think Kelly and I agree that my mother was a near perfect mom, filled to the brim with compassion, love, empathy, belief, and loyalty. She managed her relationship with Kelly and me in her own unique and balanced way. My mom never picked sides, never loved either of us more than the other. She simply established her own true and loving relationship individually between Kelly and I. I always tried to impress my mom, striving for success, branching out on my own, taking risks. It took me a while to realize that although my mom supported my goals, she never encouraged me to make the most money or become the most successful. Instead, she guided me to find my happiness, love my sister, be compassionate, forgive, and politely told me to shut up a lot. She'd say, "You can learn a lot more if you listen, Chad." I can't believe it took 34 years for me to actually catch on to that. I think my sister learned my mother's lessons much faster than I did. My sister somehow managed to bring a beautiful child into this world while being the backbone to my mother's support system. That clearly shines in Kelly's life now, as I credit my sister for her unyielding dedication to support my mother throughout this impossible task of managing our mom's illness. Throughout my mom's life, it was clear that her biggest objective was to make sure Kelly and I maintained a healthy, loving sibling relationship. She always stressed the importance of being there for each other. Since recently moving back to Cleveland, I truly look forward to growing with my sister and my beautiful niece, Adley. It's sad to think that losing my mom would be such an eye-opening experience for me. I wish I could have learned that lesson easier and without such a sacrifice. However, I come from a world where I believe that everything happens for a reason. And although this was a curse, I consider it a blessing in many ways. I now get to credit my mother to the beautiful relationship I look forward to growing with Kelly, Adley, and the rest of my family while living in Cleveland. Specifically Lisa Davis, who my mom told me before she passed that I better listen to her or else. I find it remarkable to see the amount of wealth that my mother has left behind for Kelly and I. I'm not referencing financial wealth, as that's not the dictator of happiness or the compass that drives this next chapter. I'm talking about the wealth in the purest form, the relationships my mother has cultivated throughout her entire life. Specifically, the handful of families that rallied behind my mother throughout these difficult years and stood by my mother's side. These families have welcomed Kelly and me into their families, and that gift came from my mother. My mother's relationships contained so much depth. Everybody has shared with me so many stories of her childhood, her shopping experiences, vacations, inside jokes, and so on. My mother understood how to live a happy and simple life through the relationship she built and the compassion that she harnessed. I can talk for hours about my mom, and that's what we're going to do later at Gail and Michael's house. However, for now, I just want to say thank you to my beautiful mother. Kelly and I have one powerful guardian angel watching over us. And we have a lot to look forward to as my mom clears the path for this next chapter. We have a happy life to look forward to, filled with love and gratitude, thanks to my mother. I love you, Mom.
Hodienu, Adonai, Kitzenu. Tell us, God, what our term is. Tell us the measure of our days. Were we to know, we would know then certainly how fleeting life is, how quickly we gray. You have made our life just handbreadths long. Its span is as nothing in your sight. No one endures any longer than a breath. We walk about as mere shadow. Mere futility is our hustle and bustle, amassing treasure and not knowing who will gather in. What then can we depend on? We shall depend on you. In you lies our hope. But us to please rise. We recite this memorial prayer, asking the Holy Blessed One, the Compassionate One, to bring blessing and compassion upon the soul of Carmiela Bat Bracha, that her soul may ascend and continue to ascend, to beautiful worlds beyond our imagination. El male rachamim, shochein bamromim, hamtzei menucha nechona, tachat kanfei hashchina, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, את נשמת כרמיאלה בת ברכה, שלחה לעולמה. בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה, אנא בעל רחמים, הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר אמן. El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure, to the soul of Carmiela Bat Bracha, Karen Landau, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And we say, Amen. You may be seated. We'll recess momentarily. In just a moment, we'll invite pallbearers to come forward. The interment will be at Zion Memorial Park. The family will observe Shiva following the interment today until 7:30 p.m. and tomorrow from 1 to 4 p.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. at the residence of Gail and Michael Simon. That's 4155 Symphony Lane in Pepper Pike. Friends who wish may contribute to the Maltz Hospice House in Karen's memory or to a charity of their choice. Invite us once again to please rise and invite pallbearers to come forward.